This is Jess Ghannam. I'm a professor here at UCSF in the Department of Psychiatry. We're here at the main library at UCSF on the Parnassus campus, and we're here. It's actually a very profound moment for all of us at UCSF because it's been 1 year of a catastrophic and depraved genocide that is happening to Palestine, now to Lebanon, and to Yemen and throughout the region. And there's no end in sight. And we feel like it's important to commemorate, to note, to give voice, to the 43,000 Palestinians, especially the women and the children who have perished, the people that are perishing in Lebanon and in Yemen and throughout the region, and the failure of this government and this institution, UCSF, to note it, to speak about it, and to do something about it. So we are assembling here, faculty, staff, and students, and we're going to acknowledge and pay our condolences to the tens of thousands that have died, and are continuing to call out this administration and UCSF for their failure and their complicity in all of this.
And the idea that they're bombing hospitals, targeting healthcare workers, and the regents, the people who run this university, have nothing to say about that. I mean, it seems like...
Well, it seems like they do have a lot to say, and what they're saying is that we can't speak. And that's the problem. I mean, they're trying to shut down, everything that we're doing in terms of being able to speak, and it's our moral, ethical obligation as healthcare workers to speak when we bear witness to atrocities. And, it's our moral and ethical obligation. So the regents have basically told us we can't speak about this. Or if we do speak about it, we have to do it in a certain way that goes against academic freedom and free speech. We condemn that, obviously. So that's why we're here today. And we're also, you could see that we have 2 tombstones for all the dead, representing the dead, the 43,000. You said that they're bombing hospitals and destroying healthcare infrastructure. I'm hoping that the viewers and listeners know that in Beirut, in Lebanon, Israel has killed 100 healthcare workers already with the recent bombings.
And all the rules, United Nations, Geneva Conventions, all the international rules that should protect healthcare workers, protect hospitals, it seems they're oblivious to it.
Well, that's one of the things that we're really concerned about, is that the destruction of the basic kind of agreement that healthcare workers should be protected, patients should be protected during times of conflict. All that rule, all that morality, all the ethics that we all agree upon when we engage in this work have been thrown out the window. Every patient is a target, every hospital is a target, and every doctor and nurse is a target.
And also the university has started to target students. At UCLA, they attacked an encampment. The Zionists and right-wingers attacked an encampment, and they only arrested one person who was involved in that. And the students and staff members, UAW 4811, they've been targeted. Is there an organized effort to basically go after people who do speak out?
Yeah, there is an organized effort. They are targeting faculty, staff, and students, but we're pushing back. The faculty associations across all the campuses have filed an unfair labor practice complaint against the University of California and the president of the UC and the regents, basically saying, what your attempt to shut down people's ability to speak their mind.
What happened to academic freedom?
What happened to academic freedom? Well, this is the classic Palestine exception, right? It's okay to have academic freedom as long as you don't talk about Palestine. So we filed that complaint. I'm not at liberty to say anything else right now, but we're pushing back, and we're going to push back in every way we can, and that includes legally as well as ethically and morally. It's our moral and ethical obligation to push back. Hey, listen, it's a year now, and it's not that the genocide hasn't stopped, because it hasn't, but it's amplified. Israel fired a U.S. bomb into a school again yesterday, killing over 20 civilians. They're bombing in the inner neighborhoods in Beirut, killing hospital workers and destroying healthcare facilities. They're sending missiles into Yemen. So it's not that just the everyday genocide that we've been exposed to in this depraved manner, it's actually being escalated. And the United States is completely behind this escalation, despite what you hear from Blinken and Biden and Harris. They are full steam ahead. They're doubling down on Israel. And because of that, we're on the verge of this massive extension of this genocide and war throughout the region.
And Israel wanted the United States to invade Iraq, the Iraq invasion.
Absolutely.
And now they want Israel to, Israel may invade Iran or attack Iran to a full-scale war.
I think it's on the table. I think attacking Iran is on the table. They're attacking Yemen right now. I mean, for those of us who've been around, we know that after 9/11, it gave the United States and some of its allies the opportunity to destroy Iraq, Afghanistan, and this historical moment is now giving the Americans and the Israelis to further destroy an entire civic society and region in the greater Middle East and the Gulf. This is part of their overall plan, and Iran is definitely in the crosshairs right now. But, Israel and the United States, they have miscalculated. We see that, Iran and Lebanon and Yemen are able to defend themselves in ways that is surprising the Americans and the Israelis. And so I think this is a grave miscalculation, and, we're all going to pay the price for it. We're all suffering. The world community is suffering as a result of this depraved action and this genocide that's being carried out right now.
Well, the Zionists have said they have a right to do this to protect themselves. They have united with right-wingers around the world in their endeavors. And yet the political crisis in this country with the Democrats and Republicans, apparently they both support continued military aid and war.
Listen, there is no daylight between the Democrats and the Republicans and Israel on this genocide, and people need to know that. People need to know that Kamala Harris is just as complicit as Joe Biden, that there's no daylight politically, there's no daylight in terms of the intentionality. And so all the hand-wringing that you hear from the White House about how distraught Biden is complete rubbish. Biden is behind this. The Democrats and the Republicans are behind this. They are fomenting a kind of initiation into World War III-like conditions that are going to decimate millions upon millions upon millions of people and civic societies as we know it. And, we saw what happened after Iraq and Afghanistan in terms of, quote, the unintended consequences. This is 10 times worse what the Americans and the Israelis are doing right now. And, we're gonna fight back. We're gonna condemn it. We're gonna do everything in our power to save the moral compass of humanity in this country, because people, if they really knew what the United States was behind, it's
a business. They make money on this war.
Yeah, and the other thing is that $20 billion has gone to Israel, and that's from the United States since last October 7th. And so people who are struggling financially, people who can't get adequate health care, people who can't get adequate child care, people who are being thrown out, who are unhoused, where's your money going? We know it's going into this war effort, this industrial complex that's committed to war and destruction.
And yet we have this crisis with the hurricanes. We have East Palestine where they don't even have health care in East Palestine.
North Carolina and what's happening right now with the next Category 4 hurricane is going to decimate the eastern seaboard. People are 10 days now without electricity in North Carolina, without food, without electricity, without running water, and we're sending billions of dollars to Israel. So you do the math. That's what I say to people who say, well, why does this have anything to do with me? And I say, well, look at what's happening in North Carolina. Look at what's happening in the world, in the United States, where people are financially not able to make ends meet and not able to get health care. It's because billions upon billions of dollars are being sent to this war machine, and Israel is doing the American bidding in this region. We need to understand that.
And they're saying they're running out of money at FEMA?
Yeah, they're running out of money for FEMA, but Biden and Harris are willing to send billions of dollars to the Israelis to kill more civilians. So that's why we have to open up our kind of awareness of the interconnectedness of all these things, because when you explain things to people who may not have the familiarity about what's happening in Palestine right now, and you kind of break it down this way, everybody's disgusted about what's happening here. And I say this to mostly Kamala Harris lovers, if Donald Trump is our next president, it's on you. It's not on people who called out the genocide. It's on you for doing this.
My name is Toss. I'm a junior specialist at UCSF, and I work at Mission Bay.
And you're having a rally here today in commemoration of the thousands of people that have been killed. Why is the university silent? I mean, it's attack on hospitals, targeting of healthcare workers,
Right.
journalists.
Right, and I think it's because UCSF and the entire UC system is complicit. They're profiting off of genocide and apartheid and occupation, and they have been for the past 76 years now. And they're trying to silence students that are waking up to American imperialism and shutting down and repressing students more than ever now, because people know the truth and people will not stand for their oath that they take to become healthcare workers to be taken in vain. And the UC is becoming very, very, very scared. And they should be, because they are accountable to us. We are students at their institution. We are the ones that are funding our own education while they're using those funds to fund a war in our name. And we will not stand for that.
The majority of people are against military weapons to Israel. It seems that the regents who are appointed by the governor really are disregarding what the majority of people are saying in this country. What does that say about the structural problems of who runs the university and what it really represents?
Right. It just shows how corrupt the university actually is. People are working for profit, not for health, not for their constituents, not for their students. And it just shows that this structural, the structure that the UC holds is corrupted and needs to be dismantled and needs to be held accountable. And who better than to do that than the students and the faculty?
And you have a hurricane, you have the Helena, you have this new hurricane which threatens millions of people.
Exactly.
They say that they're going to run out of money at FEMA.
Right.
How could this be when they're providing billions to this war, to the continued military support of Israel?
Exactly. They say that they have $9 billion deficit in the Federal Emergency Management Agency that is supposed to be providing relief to thousands and thousands of family in the South, in Florida, in North Carolina, South Carolina. And there have been reports of mutual aid and humanitarian aid groups going there, and there hasn't been any emergency response. But there's $9 billion to send to Israel 2 weeks ago. It doesn't add up to us.
And the political situation in this country, it seems, in this election, the only choice that people have, Democrats and Republicans, people have said there's no real choice. What does that mean politically for people in this country with the rise of fascism, a fascist, possibly fascist government?
Exactly. Well, let's take UCSF for an example. We grew up hearing that the UCSF is the #1 medical institution, healthcare institution of our time, and just as it's uncovered itself, the U.S. political situation right now has uncovered itself. And this is something that people have been forced into thinking that they have a choice between Democrats and Republicans. That is simply not true. They do not work for us. They work for one party, and that is the ruling class. It is time for people to ditch both Democrats and Republicans. I'm voting socialist because I don't believe that capitalism is going to bring anything for people except for profiteers and the bourgeois, and I believe it's time for people to bring that power back into their own hands, so these structural issues that we face, this government, this repressive, disgusting government that we face, is not going to be an issue for us anymore, and we can actually take care of our community and be there for people as healthcare workers and future aspiring healthcare providers.
And the unions have supported the Democratic Party. None of the healthcare unions have said anything, as far as genocide is concerned. And also they're in negotiations with thousands and thousands of university workers. And fighting them, there's a union-busting law firm hired by the regents and management to go after. What does that say about our labor situation where the unions, the AFL-CIO, continue to support military weapons deals?
Right, and this, again, goes down to show how the systems of power right now are all feeding into one thing, and that is profits. And in the case of unions, my union, UAW, for example, called for a ceasefire earlier on, called for using BDS, boycott, divest sanctions. However, they are supporting the Harris administration currently and going hard on voting blue. What does that mean for the actual members? Members are seeing the uncovered lies that the government has been telling them, whereas in their unions, leadership is telling them, you know, we respect you, we hear you, we are for life, but in this case, we need the support, we need the money. And that is something people have to realize, that we cannot keep depending on people of power of these systems in place currently, and we have to start right back at the grassroots organizing level within our unions and bringing leadership into question about why they are so afraid to actually stand on the side of people in wanting profits for their own unions.
Isn't that part of business unionism, to separate, the business of a union with struggles like war, like imperialism?
Right, yeah. I mean, that's what I've been saying since I've been working over the past year here.
And negotiations, do you think there should be demands that include Palestine in these negotiations with all unions and united in front of all the unions?
Absolutely, it should. It should be divesting from all systems that support occupation, apartheid, genocide, war, and suppression.